Question number 5, the Honourable PAREKURA HOROMIA.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Māori Affairs, does he consider advisory boards a good substitute for Māori seats on the Auckland City Council? Like John Key, who said, "I do not accept the view that some sort of advisory board or some sort of participation board would be a SOP. If not, why not?"
The Honourable Dr PITA SHARPLES.
Tēnā, Mr. Speaker. I've made my views well known to the Prime Minister and the public as the co-leader of the Māori Party. As a Minister, however, I have no responsibility for this issue.
The Honourable PAREKURA HOROMIA.
Mr. Speaker, has he received any reports from National Party Māori MPs signalling their intentions to cross the floor and support a Supplementary Order Paper establishing Māori seats on the new Auckland City Council, seeing the Prime Minister has not listened to him?
Order. Before I invite the Honourable Minister to respond to that, I'm not sure of the responsibility the Minister has for the views of members of the National Party. And I'll hear the Honourable Darren Hughes on the matter.
Mr. Speaker, we've raised this point of order on several occasions with you, because we're often the victim of the ruling you're about to make or considering making, when patchy questions come from government backbenchers asking ministers have they received any reports about comments, statements or actions by members of Parliament who are in the opposition, and that then opens it up for the government to have a whack at the opposition. You've ruled that because they're being asked if they've received any reports, that is in order, and that's what the Honourable PAREKURA HOROMIA has done as well on this occasion.
It's interesting. Well, here the Honourable Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Hughes would be right, except for one point. The reports that get asked for have to relate to the Minister's portfolio. And unfortunately for the Honourable PAREKURA HOROMIA, the reports that he's seeking from the Minister of Māori Affairs bear no relationship to his portfolio, because as Minister of Māori Affairs, he wouldn't be receiving such reports in his capacity as a minister. So he has no responsibility for such reports in this House.
Order, Mr. Speaker.
I'll hear the Honourable Darren Hughes further.
Mr. Speaker, I think that this goes back to a point that was made right at the beginning of the year about what the ambit of the Minister of Māori Affairs is. Now, we've got 5, 6, 7, 8 quotes from the Minister of Māori Affairs who said that he wants to take a role on the leadership of Māori issues, representation on Māori issues, and has particularly tied it to this issue. In fact, there are cabinet papers that are in the name, I understand, of the Minister of Māori Affairs and the Minister of Local Government together that have been taking their ministerial responsibility for this issue. So clearly they are acting, both ministers are acting on this issue within both of their portfolios. And, sir, I'll be happy to come back to the House very shortly with quotes from the Minister of Māori Affairs where he talks about his dual role, both as co-leader of a party, which clearly he cannot be questioned on in here, but also as Portfolio Minister for Māori Affairs, and when he'll be taking a clear role in resolving this issue.
The point of order.
The Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I'm afraid that Mr. Darren Hughes is wrong, because what he's seeking is reports about the behaviour of MPs in another party. As Minister of Māori Affairs, he has no responsibility, even on a particular bill that he might be shepherding through, let alone a bill that he's not.
I don't need to hear now. I think I've heard sufficient. I've been listening to the helpful advice, because it has been helpful advice of the members who've contributed while I ponder what is a difficult issue, I freely acknowledge. The dilemma I have with the question was it didn't ask the Minister whether he'd received reports in relation to his ministerial responsibility. It asked specifically about letters from members of Parliament to do with something that may not have been his responsibility. Now, I'm sure Honourable PAREKURA HOROMIA could phrase a question that did ask whether the Minister had received any reports in the area of his ministerial responsibility relating to the matter. I invite the Minister to see if he could reword his question to bring it within standing orders. The Honourable PAREKURA HOROMIA.
Mr. Speaker, has the Minister of Māori Affairs had any reports from other members wishing to cross the floor on this matter, seeing that Rodney Hyde and the Prime Minister are not listening to him?
I don't see how that is within order at all, because
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Point of order.
A point of order is being called. I'll hear the Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr. Speaker, this morning the Minister of Māori Affairs has been in the media as Minister of Māori Affairs, calling for there to be a free vote on this issue, which directly affects Māori people in our country, particularly in Auckland, and for which the Minister himself has publicly on repeated occasions says is part of his ministerial responsibility to advocate for. So his responsibility in this area as an advocate is well established. He attended the Cabinet yesterday to lobby on this particular issue. This morning he has called for there to be a vote on the very point that my colleague is now asking if he's received any reports on.
Order. I'm not unsympathetic to the point the honourable member is making. The dilemma is if he reflects on the question the Honourable Parekura Horomia just asked, it didn't remotely meet standing order requirements because the minister has no responsibility whatsoever for whether or not for possible reports about members crossing the floor of the House. Neither does he have any ministerial responsibility for what the Prime Minister may have said. So, I'm not saying that the Minister can't be questioned at all. The Minister most certainly can be questioned. But the question must come within standing orders, and that's why I invited the Honourable Parekura Horomia to try and bring his question within standing orders. The last one, forgive me, and we can't allow it to go on too long, was just nowhere near the requirements of standing orders. The Honourable Parekura Horomia.
Mr. Speaker, will the Minister of Māori Affairs be calling for a personal vote on this very important matter to this nation?
The Honourable
Mr.
Dr
Speaker.
PITA SHARPLES.
Yes, I'll be calling for a conscience vote. Thank you.
Te ora rau flavel.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Kia ora tātou to the Minister. What response does the Minister of Māori Affairs have to Tuku Roirangi Morgan, who stated that Tainui would not take part in any advisory board because, quote, giving Māori people the crumbs at the second level is a nonsense, and we've made it quite clear we are not interested in being a teko or tono, people who are subservient to the top table, end of quote.
The Honourable Dr PITA SHARPLES.
I believe that Mr. Morgan is correct in saying that Māori representation at this level should not be symbolic or subservient.
The Honourable Parekura Horomia.
Mr. Speaker, what does he say to Tau Henare, who last week had an email in which he called on his caucus to let National MPs cross the floor and vote for the Māori seats, and today is reported saying, why should I sacrifice my career?
Order. I just ask the member to resume his seat for a moment because, please. Clearly, no minister has any responsibility for what a backbench member might say. And, order, I'm ruling on the matter. Order, there will be silence in the House. Order, I say to national backbenchers. Now, I think we've got to, I realise this is a difficult area and there's no way in the world I'm trying to prevent the member from questioning the minister, because some ministers have got to have responsibility for these issues, and so I'm not trying to prevent the member questioning the minister, but clearly no minister has responsibility for what a backbench member may say. And so I invite, we can't go on too long, but I will finally invite the member to ask a supplementary that is in order. The Honourable Darren Hughes, point of order.
Point of order, sir. Thank you for hearing our submissions on this. So the supplementary question you allowed previously was, what did the minister say to a quote by Tuku Roirangi Morgan?
Order.
So what I'm saying, and then a quote from that person was stated, and the minister responded to it. Mr. Horomia started his question by saying, what does he say to Tohi Nerei last week, and then went on to explain what the quote had been. So in April 2009, in question time, Dr Sharples said that as the Minister of Māori Affairs, I have an interest in all affairs that affect Māori, and I have a responsibility to reflect their views. We are trying to question on this important, actually constitutional point here, and a quote's been put by a certain individual to the minister to comment on. He's done that. We didn't object to that. Now, exactly the same thing is happening, and you're considering ruling it out.
Order. I may have order. There won't be interjections on this. I may have misheard on the previous question. I do apologise to the House if I misheard. I had understood it was some correspondence between Mr. Morgan from Tainui with the Minister of Māori Affairs I might have misheard. I do apologise if I misheard there, because it is, again, it was my error then. Sorry, I misunderstood that. But clearly, the minister can't be responsible for what either private citizens or backbenchers